The base has dropped on a suddenly cold Metro Atlanta. This weather has just gotten beyond stupid. It was 80 degrees yesterday. It's going to drop like 30 degrees today. My sinuses are very, very angry at the moment. Not a fan of this. Can we just pick some form of weather and go with it, please?
It's hot. It's cold. It's hot. It's cold. Why don't you pick a weather and stick with it?
Yay. All right, I will sniffle my way through it as best I can. SDH Live, February 8th. It's a Friday flashback edition of the show. And as you saw on this morning's tweet, we're asking for your favorite early memories of soccer, whether it was playing, whether it was going to a game, whether it was seeing a game on TV, whether it was playing the FIFA video games, whatever your earliest memories are of the sport. And everybody who replies will be entered into a contest to win a couple of tickets to the Wolves over at Horizon Theater. That's running through early March. We're going to have a 1v1 next week with the director. I'm looking forward to that. See how everything came together. I mean, John, it's not every day you get on a Pulitzer Prize list or a New York Times critics list, so that's pretty high quality.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to hearing how the idea came to pass and how difficult it is to write something, to integrate that many characters and do it in a manner where you're not shorting a story and that kind of stuff, because obviously the more characters you have, the idea of balance and storytelling is always something that is difficult for a playwright, and I'm looking forward to hearing how this got pulled off.
Yeah, 9 young women on a girls soccer team, and be noted that it is 16 and up. Is recommended for 16 and up. There are some, mature situations in the play, so keep that in mind for our winners today, and keep that in mind for who you might want to take with you. What's the first team you remember playing on, John?
It was the Gold Cup soccer camp stuff that I did when I was, this is probably 75 or 80 years ago.
So your first memory was going to a camp, not playing on a team.
No, I played Little League baseball growing up. And so my grandparents and my mom were trying to figure out something else for me to do in the summer to keep me occupied since school was out. Right. And so that was what they decided over at Mercer University inside the perimeter. And they decided that they were going to enroll me in a Gold Cup soccer camp. And I got to learn how to be a left-footed right winger from folks from Philadelphia Textile. And John Cocking's son, John Jr., was a part of the camp at the time. And he was a fellow camper. And all of the old Atlanta Chiefs, like Henry Largy, would always give him grief. He's like, Cocking, where's that left foot? We always heard that the entire week of that kind of stuff. So for me, it was being in a camp when I wasn't doing Little League baseball.
Looking forward to meeting John Cocking and hopefully Junior as well tomorrow at the Georgia Soccer Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's going to be over at the Waverly Renaissance Cobb Galleria area, and the actual Hall of Fame induction ceremony will take place around 11:30. It's at the end of their annual general meeting, and the 1968 Chiefs, which John Cocking was part of, will be inducted alongside Atlanta United Academy Director Tony Annan. Really cool that Georgia Soccer reached out and asked me to be part of that and introduce folks, and I'm looking forward from the history perspective, and for you guys who are on the Patreon page, I dropped a question for you all about what you would like to see asked of people like John Cocking who played on that Chiefs team. It's going to be a pretty good collection of folks who are going to be there tomorrow, from family members, a few former players, a few former front office folks. Really looking forward to hopefully grabbing a few interviews, and if not, at least setting up some interviews for the future to dig deeper into the early days of pro soccer in Atlanta. So I'm excited about it. Excited to see Tony get inducted as well, and we'll have a 1v1 with Tony next week, hopefully, about that and more about his career maybe before Atlanta United. And you guys might not know all of that. Tony's been involved in youth soccer in Atlanta for a long time, and he's had a lot to do with its growth. So that's why he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Get a chance to talk to him, get a chance to talk to John Cocking and Dick Cecil and some other members of the old Atlanta Chiefs. It's going to be a fun weekend. That's what kind of brought this on, was thinking back to the early days of soccer for us, for you guys who are listening. For me, the first team I played on was the Clayton County YMCA Bandits, 1986 spring season. We played at Fort Gillem. The field was actually the U10 field was okay. It wasn't too slanted. The U12 field we moved up to in the next couple of seasons, it was a little slanted from one end to the other. Not a huge amount, but just enough to where when it would rain, one end of the field would be muddy and the other field wouldn't.
There you go.
And I always played goalkeeper like half the game at that point.
Oh,
and I'd
man.
always get drawn in the mud end and just be covered in mud and then go out on the field in the second half and try to score goals running around like slinging mud off of me. It was fun. It's good times. But yeah, those were my early soccer memories. Was at Fort Gillem playing on Saturday mornings. We didn't have, I think what for a lot of kids today, you play your morning game and if Atlanta United's playing that afternoon or that night, you go play. You want to play like Joseph Martinez, then you get to go watch Joseph Martinez.
And you're still dressed. Cool. You're still dressed in your uni.
Well, no, that's not how it goes anymore, John. You don't see kids wearing their YMCA unis at Mercedes-Benz. You see them wearing their Atlanta United gear.
No, I meant when we were growing up. You always wore your uni to wherever you were going next.
To Dairy Queen. When we would go to Dairy Queen after a game, or there was some I can't remember what the name of it was, some hot dog place in Forest Park that we would go to after games because it was across the street from Fort Gillem. Yeah, for that. But that's actually something that has been really cool to see, and it's been a bit of an evolution here. And think back to Silverbacks games where. And they weren't the only ones to do this. This is a pretty common promotion. You get discounted tickets or free tickets if you wear your youth soccer uniform to the game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's okay. It's cool, but it's not the pro team's gear. And it's not even about the business side of it. It's about building those connections. I would, love it when you would see kids in the pro team gear, in a jersey of their favorite player. And that's what we're seeing with Atlanta United because it builds that connection. It's not about the youth club side of it, as that's my soccer thing. My soccer thing is Atlanta United, and my soccer thing is the red and black stripes or the King Peach, whichever one you prefer, and my favorite player's name on the back, not my name on the back. That type of stuff's really cool for kids, and it's one of those little underrated things that I think shows growth. I think it really does when you see kids want to emulate their heroes by wearing that jersey and wearing that gear. First as a kid, and then, obviously kids have dreams. They all want to be professional players. They want to wear that jersey as a pro. Those are the things that give you staying power. Those are the things that change the narrative because, John, coming up through baseball, that was what you did. You played on a team in the local Little League that wore uniforms that were, usually similar to a major league team. I played on the Braves my 1 year of Little League, which that part was cool. I had a Braves jersey, and I had a Glenn Hubbard glove. That was pretty sweet. But you played on a team like that, but you always wanted to emulate a major leaguer, and you wanted to be like a major leaguer. You had something to look up to. Now, through the growth of MLS and the USL Championship and coming soon USL League One, kids have professionals in their communities that they can want to be like, and then they can want to play on that team. That's a big difference in where soccer was 10, 20 years ago in this country, and I don't think we've really seen the full effects of it just yet.
No, but we have seen the growth, and when I know that you and I, when we go into Mercedes-Benz, we're in there incredibly, incredibly early, so we don't get to see the full procession. But when we're in the Gulch doing our pregame stuff and all of that, when to see adults wearing kits, yes, we see that as a part of tailgating. But to see kids, wearing over the last couple of years a Carmona, an Almiron, a Joseph, a Brad Gazan, complete with the elbow pads and the shoulders. I think that to see how it has been embraced to the point where it has, even though I still think there is I still think there's going to be a huge upside in growth and embracing it and wearing the kits and wearing all the support on your sleeve, literally. I think it's cool to see how it affects when you see a dad or a mom sporting a kit and they're walking with their children to Mercedes-Benz and they're wearing kits, and that whole thing, how it just is embraced by an entire family. I think that's been a really cool part of the progression of it all. But to your point, I think that it still is in its nascent stages here, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it continues to grow.
Yeah, it just takes time. I mean, stories like Bill Hamid being in the stands at RFK and then playing for that team, those are great, and we need more of those. And I can't wait for, the homegrowns here so far are great, but they didn't grow up watching Atlanta United. It didn't exist. When you get the first story of a kid who, the first game they went to go see was at Bobby Dodd or at Mercedes-Benz, and then they join the academy, and then they sign a pro contract. That's when the roots are fully developing. That's going to be a pretty cool thing. Yesterday, if you haven't heard it, we dropped our latest Women's Soccer Weekly podcast. I had a chance to talk to Jessica Sharman, who is at Soccer in the Streets, goalkeeper at Clayton State, who recently graduated and came over after playing in academy set up with Watford and with Reading in England. We hit on something, and it's funny. Jessica and I have talked about it afterwards, and we were laughing about it because neither one of us planned for this to happen, but it makes a lot of sense. So we were talking about the growth of the women's game in the U.S., and one of the things that she brought up that she did not like compared to how it's grown in England, for example, is the way teams are named. Even a team like the Portland Thorns, very successful. The Utah Royals, very successful. They are affiliated with the Portland Timbers and Real Salt Lake, but they're not named the same way. It's like they're being kept separate because of the name. It works in those two because they've been successful and they're run in a very successful way, but does the Orlando Pride name help? Does the Houston Dash name help as opposed to being Houston Dynamo or Orlando City? When you look at how clubs in every other part of the world have treated their women's teams, and this is consistent with England, it's consistent with Liga MX, the word two that we talked about, it's just part of the club. It's just part of the club. It's, Manchester United women or Watford ladies or, whatever your naming convention is, but it's not something different. It's not the Orlando Pride, which Pride has nothing to do with Orlando City other than the Lions connection, and you're trying to draw parallels, but you're still treating it very separate. It's a really simple little thing that I wonder how much of an effect subliminally it really does have on the growth of the women's game here, because we've seen it in the WNBA as well. You don't see the Atlanta Hawks women, you see the Atlanta Dream. And there's been issues with growing women's professional sports in the United States. I wonder if the naming in these situations where it is part of another club, I wonder if that hurts it. I wonder if that makes it more separate than it should be.
Interesting question. And, I'm looking at it from strictly the marketing perspective, where you're trying to draw attention to a new product and give it that new name or that new twist on what you're doing. I completely understand the perspective, and since you brought it up, I'm definitely in the camp that I think that it does, because you're shying away from the branding on the whole of the club that you're associated with. But I also
Right.
understand here in the United States the notion of, here's something new. How do we draw attention to it? You come up with your own independent name and do it that way. So I
Has it worked?
understand. Has it worked in Utah?
Yes, and it's worked in Portland, but there's 7 other teams in the league.
Right. And those 7 other
WNBA, has it
teams,
worked?
I think it depends. I think it's a market by market case. I
How
mean, I
many
think
has it
with the
truly worked in, though?
less than more.
Yeah, and that's what I go back to. I mean, of course, if you brand it right and if you do it right, like Portland's done a great job. The Thorns are treated in an incredibly professional manner. They've done a great job. But if you are, let's say you are a casual Portland Timbers fan, and you don't really know much about the women's game, you've never really had an interest in it, and somebody comes up and shows you a Portland Thorns logo and says, hey, let's go to the Thorns game, you're going to say, what's that? Huh? What? But if it's the Portland Timbers women, you're going to
You
say,
get
oh,
that
it's part
instant
of the Timbers.
recognition.
It's
Yes.
my club. Okay. Yeah, it's part of my club. I want to go see that. It kind of goes back to the question about the second team names as well, and the debate about, do you brand it and name it something completely different, or is it Atlanta United 2 or Orlando City B, or however you do it that way. It's an interesting conversation, and you look worldwide, and generally it is the club that is there for everything. And I mean, you're talking too about sports clubs in Spain and Argentina that have teams in multiple sports. San Lorenzo, for example. I mean, Tito Villalba is a huge San Lorenzo basketball fan. Real Madrid has a great basketball program. So does Barcelona. So, it's part of the club. But the women's team, the reserve teams, they're all under that same brand. It's an interesting conversation, and it's never really been done here outside of one place that it is, college. North Carolina women's soccer team they're the Tar Heels. I mean, you sometimes get Lady Tigers or whatever thrown in depending on the school. Okay, but it's just the same thing.
And once again, it's Lady Mocks, it's Moccasins, it's Tar Heels. I mean, honestly, I'm to the point to where I'm past the lady designation. Look, if you're all part of one club, you're one club.
I get it to a degree. I think with a nickname,
do, but I'm just like, look.
Yeah. Now the difference would be, in a team with a nickname, like our sports generally have, where it's the Razorbacks. Okay, whatever. You throw a lady there. All right. I don't think you need it. Fine. If it's Manchester United's new women's team, then they're Manchester United Women. It's a little different because it's not a nickname. You're not the Lady Red Devils. They're not calling them that. They're the Red Devils, just part of the club. They're not named the Manchester United Red Devils. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Manchester United Women there, or Arsenal Ladies. It's a little different. I agree with you, though, on the high schools and college teams that throw a Lady Tigers into the mix or something. I don't know if that's really necessary anymore.
What are you going? No, it's if you're the Lions, you're the Lions. I get trying to sit there and say Lionesses, but it's cumbersome, and to me, it's outdated in a lot of these opportunities to have any kind of synergy or whatever corporate word you want to use to have something under one umbrella. Look, if you're a lion, you're a lion. If you're a Razorback, you're a Razorback.
Well, now some animals do have a different name for the female animal.
I know, but I mean, but in the discussion of marketing and branding and being under the one,
you can't call it the lady. I'm trying to think of the right one.
Lady Lions.
If it's a lioness, it's a lioness. I mean, that's what it is. It's not a lady lion. So,
but aren't you just a lion? At the end of the day, aren't you just a lion?
No, that's what I'm saying is, if in a species the female is called a different name, and you are going to use that nickname. You're not going to be the Stockbridge High School women's soccer team.
Tigresses.
You're going to be the Stockbridge. No, you're not understanding me, John. Tiger is tiger, but in an animal that the female animal has a different name, you have to, if you're going to use that animal as your nickname and it's part of the team's official name, you have to use the female animal's name. You can't make up an animal. You know what I mean? Like if it's a lioness, it's a lioness. If a female lion is always called a lioness, and I am not sure that I've not pulled up my Wikipedia yet. If it is called a lioness, the team has to be called that because there's no such thing as a lady lion. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I do. Okay. I'm just saying that I'm just saying dump the lady altogether. If you're a lion, you're a lion.
Yes. John, where there is a situation of an animal is just an animal and the male and the female is called the same thing, 100% agree. If your nickname, your team nickname is an animal that the female animal is called something different than the male animal, the women's team has to be called what the women's animal would be. Because
in the case of a tiger, you're saying call it a tigress instead of a tiger.
If it is officially the tiger, if that's how they're called, if they can be called tigers, call them tigers. But if the female animal has to be called a tigress, yeah, that's what they should be. Because we can't make up animal names for nicknames. That's kind of silly.
Oh, and just so you know, before the end of the segment, pollen count today is 736, listed as high. Major pollens: juniper, alder, elm, maple, pine, and sheep sorrel.
Yeah, pollen doesn't really affect me. It's the temperature changes. Although when the temperature changes and my sinuses are angry to begin with, the pollen doesn't help. So, yay. Let us know what you think on the women's team naming conventions and how they're different around the world than they are here, and if that's a good thing, if that's a bad thing, if you don't care. If you haven't ever really thought about it, tweet at us and check out the Women's Soccer Weekly. It was our second edition. Another one coming next week. If you have any specific topics you'd love to hear us dig into there, please let us know. We'll be talking a lot of Women's World Cup, obviously in a World Cup year. We'll talk about the NWSL as well and what needs to happen for the NWSL to get past 9 teams, 8.5 if you consider Sky Blue not quite fully professional because it's how they act. Give us your thoughts and let us know what you think, what you'd like to hear from, what you'd like to learn more about on the Women's Soccer Weekly podcast. And thanks again to Jessica for her time yesterday. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, February 8th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. Lewis Martin gets me. He's right there with what I'm trying to say, and I could not think of the animal example to really have it make sense, but Lewis has got our back. He says, my high school mascot for the girls' team were called the Lady Stallions, but there can't be a Lady Stallion. We called them the Mares unofficially. You can't call the team the Lady Stallions because there's no such thing. You can't call them the Stallions either because there's no such thing. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Lewis, for making my point that I could not find. Katie Weaver with a great one. Lord, please don't make Atlanta's future women's team be the Lady Stripes. Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Well, let's not do that. And luckily, judging from the way NWSL teams have been named and one's in partnership, we haven't seen anything like that. So, yes, I think we're good, Katie. I hope. I think we'll be okay. So what do we in NWSL? We have the Portland Thorns affiliated with the Timbers, which is Thorns, Timbers. There's not.
Well, Rose City.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, but it has nothing to do with Timbers.
No.
0. Okay. Yeah. Houston Dash and Houston Dynamo. Who came up with Dash? First off,
I don't know.
Like, how are you inspired by the Houston Dash?
You like Morse code?
Nobody does. So, no, you have no excitement. The Orlando Pride and Orlando City and the Lion. I get that one.
I get that.
Totally fine. Okay. It'd be better just to be the Orlando City Women, I think. But,
yeah.
Okay, there's at least a connection there. North Carolina Courage and North Carolina FC. Courage does go back to a successful women's soccer team in the Triangle. I get it because of that. So it probably has it probably works better there because of that.
Because of the connotation.
In a different situation, sure. So they get a pass. Utah Royals, Real Salt Lake. You get the Royals, Real. Okay, there's connection there. It just feels like a harder sell. You have to do a lot more work to make the connections when, you could just do it another way. And now what I would wonder and this would be an interesting conversation for, I think, American women who have come up in the game and played and follow sports. For women from overseas, it's common for the team to be the Manchester United women or the Arsenal ladies or whatever. That's how it's always been. Here, it has generally been the other way. It has been a nickname. Does it have to be? Does that matter to you? You don't want to get into a Lady Stallions Mares situation because that's no good. But does it need to be a different name? Do you feel like it makes it special if it has a different name? Do you feel like it hurts it from the overall branding if it has a different name? These are some interesting conversations as the NWSL and hopefully at some point a women's second division professionally as well emerges, because we know the number of players are there. We know that you could stock these teams with all of the college programs that are going on. If the money is there to pay women to play professional soccer, the players are being produced. That's not a problem. If the owners are willing to invest and they see a return on said investment, you can grow the league. You can grow teams if you have a strategic plan to do so. Because right now you have 9 teams in the NWSL and the WPSL, which maybe there's a few teams that are semi-pro, maybe, and a lot are amateur. Feels like there's a lot of room to grow in this regard, and it feels like U.S. soccer really needs to emphasize this, because the Mexican League has 18 teams now. England has revamped their women's professional leagues, and it's growing dramatically. Scandinavia, we know about. Japan, we know about. Australia, we know about. You're starting to see products of the American college system who are not coming over here from overseas to go to school, but are American, are deciding, you know what, I'm not going to sign with the NWSL. I'm going to go play over here because, PSG is going to pay me more money, or Lyon is going to pay me more money. It's a better situation all the way around. I'm going to go there. That is it's not really being talked about very much, but it should be a shock to the system if you're the U.S. Soccer Federation and the NWSL, and in turn, the U.S. Women's National Team.
Well, and you're having players drafted by Sky Blue opting to go overseas.
Well, that's not surprising because of the Sky Blue situation, which is
true,
incredibly special and awful and stupid. But anyway,
yes. Houston Dash.
Other teams who do it. What's the Dash name story, please?
Refers to the fast running speed of a horse, which is a historical mode of transportation for Texans in the 1800s.
There's nothing to do with a horse and the Houston Dynamo, though. So
no.
you have a women's team that has nothing to do, name anything other than color with the men's team, and they don't draw well, and it doesn't feel very connected at all. And
nope.
There you go. It doesn't make any sense. No logic there.
Nope.
Ugh. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Share your thoughts with us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. It feels like a really weird year on the women's side because it is a World Cup year. The Olympics are next year. This 2-year combination is really big for national team programs. It feels like the NWSL is missing the boat right now. Now, they do have a tough situation because of where the Women's World Cup and the Olympics fall in the calendar. It is in the middle of your season. I think you take advantage and you just take a long break in the middle. You do a split season if you want. Do the Apertura Clausura type of model. Do a spring season, then do a fall season, then have a championship between the two in these kind of years, if that's what you need to do because of where everything falls. Okay, fine. Use it to your advantage, though. Like it feels like the leagues look at these breaks and these huge international tournaments that draw mega eyeballs to women's soccer. It feels like the NWSL looks at it as a bad thing when they should be looking at it as a huge opportunity. It just feels wasted.
And for a league right now that has 8.5 teams, and with the U.S. Women's National Team, I'll say it, they're heading toward a transitional time, but still you have a lot of eyeballs attached to the women's national team. Why not take advantage of this situation? Why not sit there and hitch your wagon to, as the domestic league for one of the world powers and for a long time the world power when it comes to women's soccer? Why not find a way to take advantage of this situation? All I see right now is just sitting there going, okay, there's a World Cup, and there's no oomph there. There's no desire, it seems, to want to take advantage of this kind of an opportunity to promote your own game, draw eyeballs to your own game, do your split season, do your Apertura and Clausura, and sit there and go, okay, we're going to throw everything we have in the league leading up to the World Cup, promote our own league, and then hit it and sit there and respect the break for what it is. We'll be right back. We're going to be watching with you. Promote the daylights out of your league during the World Cup. Hey, when the World Cup's over, you got a domestic league here that you can draw eyeballs to. Here's how you can pay attention to it. And then have a run out like nobody's business to draw attention to yourself. But I haven't seen any kind of energy to want to sit there and wrap yourself around the World Cup cycle, and then what are you going to do after this as you head toward the Olympic cycle? I just have question marks over my head.
That was why I kept saying last year that I felt like the NWSL really needed to get expansion done ahead of this season.
Yep.
Because you do it afterwards. I mean, right now there are no new teams announced for 2020. There's constant talk about Barcelona putting a team somewhere. They want to brand it as Barcelona. They want them in the Barcelona kits. Maybe this is going to create a branding situation. We'll have to see how they handle it. But that's been talked about for a while and it hasn't happened yet. Okay, you're going to have a team launch in 2020, possibly, on fairly short notice at this point. You're going to have a team launch in a year that's going to have a long break for the Olympics. You're going to be trying to put together a team after the Women's World Cup. The U.S. Women's National Team is going to do a tour after the World Cup, no matter how they do. They always do it. It is part of paying the women's national team players who do get paid outside of their club contracts. If the U.S. women win the World Cup, it's going to be a long, championship celebration tour that's going to take these players away from their NWSL teams in the second half of the season that they already missed most of anyway. These are the things where maybe it's because the NWSL doesn't have strong leadership. Maybe it's had to rely so much on help from the federation. But it doesn't seem like both sides are thinking about the opportunity that is in front of them with the NWSL. It's not just a place for players to play, earn a little bit of money, and stay in shape for the national team. It's a professional league, period. And if you look at what's going on in Portland, you should be thinking, why can't we do that everywhere? Why can't these teams stand on their own and make money and have these players become fixtures in their community? Why can't we do that everywhere? What are they doing that Houston is not, that Sky Blue is not? How can we learn from this? Because it has a feel of not being taken seriously enough by the people running it and the federation who is overseeing it and in a lot of ways funding it. And that's a shame because there's a huge opportunity here to do this. England has seen it and they're doing it. Mexico has seen it and they are doing it. I'm constantly blown away by how credible the media in Mexico treats the Liga MX Femenil. When you see 18 teams in that league and you see the championship matches with big crowds and you look at just the general attendance, it's a couple thousand. You get into the playoffs, it goes up. That's not bad for a culture that historically has not emphasized women's sporting activities, period. And now they're starting to come around to it. Here in the U.S., it's a no-brainer for women to be active in sports. But the league is not taken seriously, and it's not treated seriously, and it doesn't present itself seriously. And that's a shame, and that has to change because girls in this country deserve that. Girls in this country deserve the same heroes that are there for, if it's Miguel Almiron, if it's Joseph Martinez, if it's Tito Villalba, if it's Leandro Gonzalez Perez. And, hey, I've seen tons of young girls in this city wearing those jerseys too. But it'd be great if they had an Atlanta team to look up to. And it'd be great if they had what Portland has, if they had what Utah has now, where it is a big deal, where it's not a very small thing off to the side, because I don't think it has to be. I don't think it should be. I think owners, do need to figure out, okay, are we going to commit the time and the blood and the sweat and the tears like MLS did in the early days, where we know we're not going to see a big return straight away. But you see what's happening when it's done right. That should motivate you to go forward. I feel like the NWSL's missed an opportunity a little bit here by not getting their expansion in line quicker. I don't know what the holdup was on commissioner, president, what have you. It seems like Amanda Duffy is now completely in charge. She was the interim commissioner for over a year. None of it really made a lot of sense. And I feel like it was a wasted opportunity in a World Cup year. Now you're going to be, kind of playing off of whatever happens with the World Cup, whatever happens with a victory tour or a post-World Cup tour for the U.S. women's national team, let alone anybody else in the world who does the same. And then you're going to go into an Olympic year where you're going to have some of the same challenges. And it doesn't feel like there's a plan going forward. It doesn't feel like there is a growth plan. It doesn't feel like there is a plan to fix what's happening in Sky Blue. It just doesn't. It feels rudderless, and it should not. The heritage of women's soccer in the United States is far too strong for this. The league survived the first 3 years, which the previous two leagues did not. This one did. I think the foundation is okay. Could be better, but it's okay. And you're getting some new owners and some new blood in this league that are interested in doing more with it. I think Dale Loy Hansen coming on board in Utah is a bit of a sea change for the league. Hopefully others will be as well. And then hopefully you start to see more either MLS or USL championship clubs and owners decide that this would be a good addition to what I'm building. And look at it the way we talked about with the naming convention. All right, if you want to call it a different name, fine. If you treat it as part of your overall business and don't treat it as something separate or a charity or whatever, you treat it as part of your business to grow your business, I think you're going to see a benefit from it. I really do. And whether that's in Atlanta, whether that's a Louisville, who has mentioned it, would love to see it in Louisville as part of Louisville City. I think it'd be massively successful there. So many other clubs that have built up local fan followings in the grassroots, in the communities, I think they would support high-level women's professional soccer when it's presented in a very credible way. And I think there's a lot of different candidates for that. I don't know what the NWSL's plans are to tap into it, and I don't know if there is a plan. But I hope there's one being made, because this is the opportunity, I think, to catch up, because this World Cup could be a big wake-up call. It really could. I mean, the U.S. has only lost one time in the last 26. All right, they haven't exactly been dominant either in that run. The She Believes Cup coming up at the end of this month is going to be a big-time tournament. I love that this is becoming a big deal, and this could be a great thing for the NWSL to play off of as a kind of a kickoff for their season. The She Believes Cup every year at the end of February, early March. This time, I mean, you're playing Japan, you're playing England, you're playing Brazil, emulating a group stage with three of the best teams in the world. We'll see how the U.S. comes out of that. It is on American soil. That helps. But we're going to see how the U.S. comes out of it. We'll have a better sense, I think, of where they are going into the World Cup. We'll also have a better sense of where England is, where Japan is, where Brazil is, because these are some of the favorites, along with a France, along with a Germany. Watch out for Spain. There's a lot going on in the women's game, and it feels like Spain is trying to grow their league. England has remodeled their league, and it's growing. We know about the French league. We've seen American players go to play in France. We know what's going on in other leagues. This one, it feels like it's treading water in some ways, John. It could be so much better.
And for those who are basketball geeks, there's always the legend of Rucker Park. Early Goat Manigault, Fly Williams, Helicopter Nolings. And it was regarded as some of the best street basketball ever, still is. It has always flown below the radar for its abilities, for its athletes, and for its history. And I bring that analogy in because I always feel that women's soccer, with all of its history, with all of its athletes, with all of its impact that it's had, has always flown below the radar too much. And you have an opportunity with the NWSL in a market like Atlanta, in a market like a Louisville, in a Los Angeles, which is where I think the Barca folks were looking to pair things up. You've got San Diego. There are so many markets where you can make an impact instead of just continuing to fly below the radar with all of these legends that have helped build it to this point, and then just sit there and go, nah, we're going to just let stuff happen. It's once again being reactive when it comes to how you can advance your own game instead of being proactive and sit there and go, hey, we'll embrace everything that's going on around us, and we want you to be a part of it. And you sit there and just proceed and grow, and I'm not seeing it. And it's a shame that it's not happening. Yes, the league has survived year 3. Congratulations on that. But there can be so much more done, reaching so many more athletes and so many more kids on so many different levels in so many different parts of the country that aren't even being touched or considered, that once again, it just seems like the NWSL is being overly reactive or even just kind of letting stuff fall down and you're doing a disservice to any person who can be touched, embraced, grown with this sport. And I think it's an outright shame, and they should be doing a whole lot more than they are.
Beyond the disservice part, beyond the doing the right thing part, there's a business opportunity here, and it's not being fully capitalized on. That's the part that's kind of ridiculous to me. Is I get asking people to spend money that maybe they don't want to spend, and they don't know if they'd get a return. All right, that's a bold ask to ask somebody to do something with their money that I can't do myself. I get that, but there's an opportunity. Portland and Utah are showing it, that money can be made in this league, to combine it with doing the right thing and combine it with the opportunities that you present in the community, and to accentuate what you're already doing with a club situation. It just feels like a no-brainer, but I don't know if there's a plan to capitalize on all this, and that's the part that's frustrating. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus, and Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, February 8th. Good to see everybody freaking out on a Five-Stripe Friday about the leaks of new kits. These are pictures being taken with shirts on racks. They're all over the place. 5 stripes don't stop, or however many stripes. 5 red stripes, I think.
Doesn't the crest still have the 5?
The crest still has the 5. I like it, and go ahead and at me if you don't. That's fine. I like it. Nobody has to like every kit, everything that's put out. I don't think any team is batting 1,000% on their every kit being a hit. I like this one, though. I really do. Now, there is a bit of a discussion or yelling freak out about it, which there's one thing that this has been typical with Adidas kits, I think, for the last 4 or 5 years, because it's come up every year, it seems like. The replica kits do not have all of the features of the authentic kit, and the big one this year is the star over the crest. That's typical with Adidas. That's how they always do their kits. I remember not too long ago, the replica kits didn't have the league badge or league patch on the sleeve either. And now they do. And I think the replica kits before, even the logo was done differently. It wasn't screened on the replicas, but it was a different type of patch of some sort. There was a definite difference between that. The star over the crest is another one. The replicas have not had that for Adidas for quite a while. The authentic ones do. But there is a big difference in sizing, as some people have pointed out, between the authentic ones and the replica ones. I am not a professional soccer player or have the body type of a professional soccer player. The authentic kit, I'm going to have to go up a few sizes if I want to get into that one.
Concur.
The replica is sized a little differently, so you definitely need to take that into consideration. Also, alongside all of this, the kit unveiling next week. I think the time's been moved up just a little bit, right? It's at 6 o'clock now instead of 7?
6, yes.
Okay, that's what went out here recently. So I'm sure there will be lots of rational takes about the leaks that are going on right now. They're out there. They are there. You can go find them if you want to. Don't hurt yourself freaking out. It's going to be okay. It is a shirt, and I think a lot of people will either grow to love it or grow not to dislike it as much as some people seem to. I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to kits, especially when I'm buying from overseas, I always go up a size, if not 2, because of how things fit.
Puma kit, go up 3.
Yeah, but most of the kits that I have in my collection, I've had to go up to XX just so they kind of fit when they come overseas. I guess when they fly over the Atlantic, they lose their size or something. So
maybe it's something about the different size body types in other parts of the world.
Yeah, which could I would agree with that too, and especially my body type being different from a lot of other folks across the planet. I've just had to go up. And so just as a rule, because of laundry and washers and dryers and shrinkage, always go up a size, if not 2, regardless of where you buy.
Hey, the materials these things are being made of now, you don't have to worry about it shrinking in the laundry. You do need to worry about
You've never seen me do laundry.
John, even you can't pull that one off. It's not made of cotton. It's not made of cotton. You can't shrink it unless you're cutting it off. I don't know how you would manage to do that one because it's impossible. Now, a cotton kit from the 70s, yes. Yes, you could shrink that. Or a T-shirt, yes. But one of these, no, it's not shrinking.
Yeah, you've just never seen me do laundry, sir.
You're not that bad. You're not
that
bad. It's okay, then somehow you are magical because you can make polyester and whatever not human
polyrayon,
not natural cotton. Whatever's no, they're not cottons. There's no cottons. Cottons shrink, others don't. It's not shrinking.
Polyrayons.
Yeah, it's not shrinking. Anyway,
I've melted those before.
That's a different conversation. I guess you could call that shrinking it if you melt it, or if you make the logos or whatever fall off. That could happen too. But shrinking it, yeah, that takes a magic touch. Anyway, there's leaks out there. Go have at it. Have fun. Again, don't hurt yourself. It's going to be okay, and it's going to be officially unveiled next week. But keep that in mind about the sizing. That is definitely something to understand the differences between replica and authentic sizing. Let's take a break. One more segment to wrap up hour number 1 on a Friday flashback. We'll get into your earliest soccer memories in hour number 2, and we'll give away a couple tickets to the Wolves over at Horizon Theater as we end the show today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Wrapping up hour number 1, SDH, February 8th. In an official kit release, this dropped, I think, this morning on local TV at KSL, the new Real Salt Lake secondary kit. It's white. It's got lines across it. That sounds bad, but it actually looks pretty good. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, it's like somebody dipped their paintbrush in red paint and then just kind of threw the paint off the paintbrush from left to right across the kit. I kind of dig it. I mean, for me, it's like strawberry and vanilla were mixed together, and that's what you came out of the icebox with a blue logo for LifeVantage. No, I dig it.
Yeah, I like it. They were able to get our buddy Brian Dunseth to drop by with the new kit. And what is Real Salt Lake's mascot's name? It's got to have a name because every mascot has a name. It is a kind of scraggly-looking lion.
Yeah. Efforting. Said name.
Not bad. I guess they're the Lions, even though they're Real Salt Lake and they're Royal and they have the Utah Royals.
Yes.
And Lions, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they were looking at, because if that's the Lion, then you get Royals and all that stuff. So,
I mean, you're reaching because you're talking about like Royal, and I guess the Lion is the king of the jungle.
Yeah,
is
like
that
I said,
is that the connection here? Because that's lame.
Leo. There's a real original name.
There you go. That makes sense. Leo the Lion breaking out the new RSL kit. I do like it. I think there is a rumor that FC Cincinnati's white kit is based off this type of design from Adidas. So, in orange and blue. And we haven't seen their primary either. That should be dropping any time now. All the kit news on a Friday, a few weeks away from the opening of the Major League Soccer season. All the kit news, all the freaking out. All the gesticulations are taking place all over the country among MLS fans. It's always fun. We're going to take a break, come back, hour number 2 after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here, February 8th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. Talking kits, talking women's soccer. It's been good. It's been different kind of conversation this morning. I like it. I like to get into other things where we have a chance to. We're less than 2 weeks away from the CONCACAF Champions League opening up, though. That's kind of insane when you think about it, because it feels like this offseason was about a week. It feels like it took about a week, and in that week, you had Pity Martinez signed, you had Miguel Almiron transferred, you had all this chaos going on, and yeah, I know it wasn't quite a week. It just feels like a week, because it wasn't that long ago that we were at Mercedes-Benz, freezing, soaked after the pregame, and for some people postgame as well, out in the Gulch, watching a trophy get lifted, and team's back in action on February 21st. You're going to be able to watch that game on Univision Deportes and also Yahoo Sports streaming. Yahoo did NFL streaming before. Do they still do it? Do they still have that, or were they kind of the first one to do some of it?
No, Yahoo streamed NFL this season, as a matter of fact, along with Amazon Prime.
Okay, yeah, I knew Amazon was doing it. So this is not. I know there's always concern about streaming, and it's not traditional. I get that. This is not what happened with Go 90, which didn't survive the problems that they were having with having streams that would actually stay up. Yahoo's done this, and they've done it on NFL games. So you should be getting a high-quality stream out of Yahoo Sports for that on the English language side, I would assume. I'd be shocked if they didn't have it as high quality.
And, what is it? So 13 days, Costa Rica. Okay. That really seems like we were talking about this yesterday, and yesterday was December. Honestly.
Yeah.
It is. And last year we were wondering about an off season and what we were going to do to fill time, and we ended up with the boat show. This year we wondered how we were going to fill time, and we've had no problems with that, with the PT Party and Champions League and everything else going on. So, there is no off season.
Yeah, we'll be getting heavy next week into prep for Herediano and CONCACAF Champions League. The 4 other MLS teams who are involved in the tournament will also be starting. I think Toronto actually kicks it off first on the 19th. They get the Tuesday game in this. We'll get into all that next week and start digging deep into who Herediano are, what kind of threats they pose to Atlanta United, what the other series look like. We'll be getting deeper and deeper into that. We're also going to be getting into your early soccer memories here in our next segment. But a little bit of news popping up around the country on a variety of levels. The NPSL Founders Cup scheduling has started to come out, at least for the first week of what that looks like. Chattanooga FC will be playing the New York Cosmos in the first week of this in August. I was looking for the actual schedule, but it's not as easy to find as it should be. The Founders Cup, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, the NPSL Summer League can have professional players in it. Teams can opt to be professional or amateur. Most are amateur. They are creating a professional league for their top clubs, and it's 11 that have started this in the fall after the traditional NPSL season ends. Usually runs from May to the first week of August. So the New York Cosmos, in this half of the country, it's the Cosmos, it's Miami United, it's Miami FC, it's Jackson. Is Jacksonville in it, or did they actually opt not to? I think they opted not to in a surprising.
I thought they were out of it, yeah.
Yeah, they'd pushed a lot for it, but it looks like they're stepping out of it for now. Chattanooga FC, Detroit City are the other, and Milwaukee Torrent. So you're going to have teams play regionally and have a championship in November, and then the idea is for 2020 to see the first pro season for these clubs. But your initial games are set up, and the Cosmos and Chattanooga will be playing in the first week of action in the Founders Cup. Pretty cool. Really curious to see how this comes together, because this is a very different way for some of these clubs to operate. We've talked about budgets with Chattanooga and with Detroit City, and you're talking about Miami FC and the Cosmos, who are coming from the professional side of things. I'm very intrigued to see how this goes. It's a professional league that will be operating outside of the professional league standards of U.S. soccer. It's not an outlaw league like some people speculated it would be. It's none of that. It's affiliated through U.S. Adult Soccer Association, the USASA. But it is a brand new path for some teams to try to take, and it could work really well, and it could be a great in-between step for the teams that are amateur, semi-pro, that are thinking about going pro. It could be a way for those clubs to find their footing as they grow. It's just a little bit of the unknown, John, so we kind of are wondering how it comes together and how the different clubs handle this jump in, honestly, expenditure, because it is going to be far more expensive than they're used to.
Yeah, I mean, your East region, you mentioned Chattanooga, Detroit City, Miami FC, Miami United, Milwaukee, and Cosmos. West region is Albion, what we used to know as Albion SC Pros. They're now ASC San Diego, Cal FC, Cal United Strikers, FC Arizona, Oakland Roots. So for the West region, you're not looking at expenditures that are completely and totally out of the norm. But when you're going from Chattanooga and you're flying out of Tyson and you're trying to get to Detroit or you're trying to get to Milwaukee, it's going to be an adventure. And I want to see how Founders Cup comes off. And I want to keep an eye on, how many players travel, all the little minutia that are associated with these kinds of things, and the budgets that are going to be put into something like this, and hopefully not taken away from the actual NPSL activity. So I know that you're dealing with two separate tracks here, but I want to see how these teams that have wanted to take steps up, how they negotiate this difference of competition.
I mean, for example, Detroit City tweeted out yesterday 16 home matches at Keyworth Stadium this year, 7 NPSL regular season, 5 NPSL Founders Cup, 4 exhibition matches. Chattanooga will probably be pretty similar, 16 or so at Finley Stadium. That's a if you're going from 7 plus some exhibitions, say that they were going to have 9 or 10 in a normal year, you're almost doubling it. That's a lot to ask alongside paying players and operating as a professional organization. So I'm definitely intrigued to see it, because it's a groundbreaking kind of way to approach it. And that could be good, that could be bad. But it's a way that I think needed to happen in the NPSL, because we've watched it I've watched it in the Southeast from day one, grow from a true summer league to, hey, some of these teams can do a little bit more, and there needs to be something more, because they're not going to be able to keep the interest up at this level for what they've become. And Chattanooga definitely falls into that. I think Asheville City is going to get there pretty quick. We've seen some decide to go the USL route, and that, whatever works for your ownership group, whatever works for your community, whatever makes sense for you. Others are going to go down this road. So it's a great experiment for American soccer, and I'm hopeful that it does present another way forward for clubs and communities to grow. I hope that the right things are in place to protect it, though, too, because we've watched definitely I have over the years watched leagues, and USL was guilty of this 20 years ago. just accept teams who wanted to do something and had checks that cleared to do it. And those teams lasted a year or two and then faded away and did damage to the game in their communities. So I'm very hopeful that that doesn't happen here and that clubs aren't biting off more than they can handle at this point. And Chattanooga is a very interesting situation with the Red Wolves emerging in USL League One, owner coming in from the outside of the city, and then front office people from the city and building connections inside. And you're going to have two professional teams operating. At the levels that they're operating on, can they both survive? Yeah, I think they can. They could also, one could, end the other one. That could happen too. There's really no guarantees here. And it's going to be about the overall quality of the product that both offer and the connections they make with their community. Chattanooga FC has a huge head start in that emotional capital. And we'll see if the Red Wolves can close that ground. The Red Wolves have done some things that I really like to see. I love that they're doing a League Two team in Dalton and building those connections. Love that they're going to build their own facilities. That's great. Doesn't mean it's a success. Doesn't mean Chattanooga FC is a success going into this new world of a professional league. There's no guarantees either way. I hope, and this has been my hope from day one as it started to emerge, I hope that both focus on building their product, their brand, who they are, as opposed to fighting the other one.
Right.
Build the best, focus on what you can control, what you can do to make your product better and provide a better experience for your fan base, as opposed to trying to tear somebody else down. You might end up tearing yourself down in that process, and that's not going to help anybody win anything. If both teams build quality products, both teams will find an audience for it.
And that market that will have multiple approaches to doing the same thing. There's always a way to do a successful business, and not every business does things the same way to reach the level of desired success and desired results. So you hope that Chattanooga FC has their way, and they've done some things in the off season to hopefully help them in that regard from their perspective. And you see what the Red Wolves have been doing. I mean, the Red Wolves have a women's side that is also a part of the discussion. So you want both to succeed, but you want to have them lift the entire market up as opposed to tearing the other person down and sitting there and saying, well, we're better. No, we're better. No, we're better. Infighting does you no good when you're trying to grow the sport.
No, it doesn't. And neither club is at the level where they can take the losses that will result from that. I think you're far better off in building what you're doing. And Chattanooga FC, for example, they're selling of shares to become owners and follow a version of the Green Bay Packers model. They've raised $520,000 so far. I was looking for the number of different shares that have been sold, but it's $520,250 at this point. Minimum share price of $125. Don't see the overall number of owners. It was getting around 2,000. That's a brand new way of doing it. Something that I don't think was even legally possible until fairly recently, as some regulations have changed. But it's a new way forward, and it's something that maybe you'll see other teams model themselves after. And it's provided them a great deal of capital to launch a professional team with. So that's a big help. It's going to be really interesting to see how these clubs at smaller levels find their way to grow.
And as of 2 days ago, 1,836 supporters, 4,036 shares, and Class S shares now over $500,000 for Chattanooga FC.
Okay, so not quite to 2,000, but close in terms of people. So,
yeah,
but $520,000. That's an amazing effort by Chattanooga FC, and they've done a great job in getting the story out there and telling it. And I don't think they're anywhere near done. Lower level soccer continues to grow. You know, this season alone in our region, if you are in the Metro Atlanta area and you want to go see a game, you can drive. What's a reasonable drive to go see a game? Let's say 3 hours if you don't want to stay overnight. 3.5. Nashville,
depending on when the game starts.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville stretches it, but you've got USL Championship in Nashville. You've got USL Championship in Birmingham. You've got USL Championship with Atlanta United, too. You've got USL League One in Statesboro, in Greenville, in Chattanooga. You've got USL League Two in Statesboro, in Peachtree City, in Dalton, all for this season. You have NPSL in Atlanta with Atlanta SC, the former Silverbacks, with the Georgia Revolution. You have Chattanooga FC. You have Asheville
Greenville
City.
FC.
You have Greenville FC. You have lots of different options. You'll have MLS in Nashville next year. Knoxville left NPSL this year. They would seem to be a perfect market for some team at some level in one of these leagues to come back and do it right. Montgomery has been one that's been talked about. Huntsville is one that's been talked about. Macon has been mentioned before. Columbus, Georgia has been mentioned before. Augusta, Athens to me is a no-brainer at some point for somebody to do it. Columbia, South Carolina as well. You have Charlotte. You have the Charlotte Independents. You have the Charlotte Eagles in USL League 2. Now, then, if NISA gets off the ground, you have a team in Charlotte. You have a team in Atlanta. You have a lot of stuff going on in this region at a variety of levels, a variety of different business plans, a variety of different ways forward. It's been nice to see so many of the different ones at whatever level they're in support their community and grow the game in their community and try to plant those long-term roots as well. These are the things for me that make me feel really good about where this game is going in this country. MLS and the growth of MLS is a very important part of it. But also these grassroots clubs that are growing the game in their local communities that, Statesboro, Georgia is never going to see Major League Soccer with a team in Statesboro. It's not going to happen. It couldn't support it. Doesn't mean they can't support soccer in a very professional, big-time way. Find the level and find what works for you. And I think we're seeing owners and clubs find a way to, make it viable. Because it's nice to do it. It's nice if an owner has the money to lose to do it, to just provide a community benefit. It's even better when it's actually sustainable from a business perspective.
And think about, and we've followed the story from its beginnings with what Darren Van Tassel and Tormenta are planning to do. They have gone from playing at Georgia Southern to building their own stadium and having it be a part of a Southern anchor to the city of Statesboro, Georgia, where it's a multi-use, multi-purpose with a stadium there. And it's a part of building the legacy of soccer in Statesboro, Georgia, but have it impact not just Bullock County, but, if you go 45 minutes in a circle, you're probably talking about 10 or 12 counties and that particular section of the state that you can rub off on and have that kind of an impact for a very long time to build the sport. So it's not about trying to be like the other guy. The biggest thing is trying to figure out who you are, be yourself, build that self, and figure out how you can impact. And we're seeing what Tormenta's been doing as a part of this, as one example of what you can do to help build the sport.
That's a good setup, too, because you had a couple conversations that we'll be releasing as 1v1s on the SDH network over the next couple of days. You want to further tease them?
Sure. We had one conversation with Grand Exalted Poobah, and I think that is now officially on the business card for as many times as we've referred to Darren Van Tassel as the Grand Exalted Poobah of South Georgia Tormenta FC. Had a 1v1 with him and also had a 1v1 with Tormenta FC head coach John Milleracey. And it was good to kind of get both perspectives of how things are growing on the pitch as everybody's getting ready for the season and what Tormenta is looking to do off the field as well to continue to grow the sport there in East Central Georgia and in South Carolina and just in League One and League Two in general. So it was fun stuff, and that'll be coming out this weekend.
Yeah, we'll have one coming out today. Well, the Van Tassel one coming out today. The Migliorecia coming out tomorrow on the SDH network. You can get that on the app, the website, also over at Spreaker as well. Let's take a break. Let's start getting into earliest soccer memories from us, from you guys who are listening. Everybody who wants to get in on that, tweet at us using the Friday Flashback hashtag. Everybody who uses the hashtag shares a memory with us will be entered into a contest to win a couple tickets to see the Wolves over at Horizon Theater running through March. We're going to have a 1v1 with the director as well, talking about the Pulitzer Prize nominated play, also New York Times Critics List as well. Have a chance to win a couple tickets. Use the hashtag Friday Flashback. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here, your earliest soccer memory, and we'll start getting into that on the other side. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life, young adults of unique determination and experience, an ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Friday Flashback edition of Soccer Down Here, February 8th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. Had a question from Ol Swarthy, and with a Twitter name like Ol Swarthy, your questions do get answered as best as we possibly can, because that's one of the best. I think it's still Wakatata Flame in the Twitter name rankings. I think the poll still has Wakatata Flame at number 1. Ol Swarthy's a solid number 2, though. Ol Swarthy's question is, were there ever any details regarding the Dion Pereira move? Did we get him on a free, and why did Watford let him go so easily, since he seems to have lots of potential? He was a player that jumped out in the friendly against Cal State Fullerton on Wednesday for sure. I love his 1v1 ability, and that was something that was highlighted from his time at Watford. We don't really have a lot of details, though, on how the deal went down. The way it was announced, the official terminology on the transaction from Atlanta United was Atlanta United signed Dion Pereira via transfer from Watford on January 15th, 2019. No mention of general allocation money, targeted allocation money, anything like that. So not expecting salary to be an issue. Don't know what a transfer fee was, if there was one. Could have been a free transfer. But the fact that it was a transfer, or at least the way the terminology is here, you would assume that he was still under contract at Watford. Don't know how much longer he had on a deal there. It could have been going into the last 6 months of a deal, and when Watford had made a decision, they weren't going to sign him to another deal. This opportunity came up, and they let him go for either a free or a nominal fee ahead of his contract ending. Not sure. I mean, John, this happens a lot with clubs in England, and it was a big discussion point I heard yesterday on Talk Sport about you have a weird situation right now in England, and Watford is not in the same part of the conversation as a Manchester City or Chelsea or an Arsenal about young English players coming through academy and just not having anywhere to play, just having no opportunity. Right. But with the money coming in on the TV side in England, clubs are able, in ways they were never able to before, go out and sign foreign talent. The young English player is struggling to find a place to play, and we've seen quite a few go over to Germany at young ages, not on loans, but on full transfers. Maybe we're going to see more follow this model, like Pereira, where if he felt like there wasn't an opportunity for him at Watford coming up, depending on what was in front of him, let's go to MLS and build up my name.
Yeah, and to see something like that, you're looking at, and I'm rolling through the roster, you're looking at a lot of midfielders. Let's see, you have on the roster 10 midfielders on the first team alone, and one of them is on loan. And then you're looking at Tom Cleverley, De La Feu, and Doucouré, Chalobah, Capu, Pereira, and it's what the manager has in mind at that particular time. And for a club like a Watford, it's about being in that middle group, challenging the big six. And you have this idea in mind of the athlete that you're looking for. And I think right now in the Premier League, you're seeing teams that are looking more at the now and having to focus on the now and how do we stay up? B, how do we stay competitive? For a Watford, how do we stay in that middle grouping, not recess and try to challenge for the big six? And if your manager and if your front office staff feel that you have to have experienced talent and churn that instead of growing players, then you're going to see players like a Dion Pereira not have as many opportunities as they've had in the past. And so for players looking out for their best interests, MLS, you're hoping that something like what this particular DP is thinking, that it can help him and get his career on track and he gets more experience here and then perhaps works his way back to a Premier League side or back to Watford overall. So, I completely seeing having to try to figure out how to do things elsewhere and then go back to where you were at the beginning.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to unpack there about a club like Watford. I mean, let's look at their last match from last weekend. They played a 4-4-2, two holding midfielders, so kind of the empty bucket, two up top and two wingers. You look at the two wingers who were on the field. Ken Sema is a Swedish 25-year-old valued at €3 million. Okay, maybe Pereira could have earned that time, but Pereira's also 19, not 25, not a trusted veteran at this point. Will Hughes is on the other side, young English 23-year-old winger valued at €15 million. Beyond those two, you have Isaac Success valued at €5 million from Nigeria. You have Gerard Deulofeu who came over from Barcelona, 24 years old, valued at €14 million. That's a lot for Dion Pereira to try to break through. Also, his age. You're talking about a 19-year-old going up against 23, 24, 25-year-olds. You mentioned the win now, and that's a huge issue in England at the moment because managers are not lasting very long.
No.
Javi Garcia was appointed January of 2018 at Watford. So he has been there for just over a year. They're in 8th. He's doing well. For a club like Watford, though, that could turn really fast. And Javi Garcia could be out of a job. He doesn't have the luxury, like clubs used to, of bringing young players through, letting them play some, trusting them, even though they're going to make some mistakes, to find their way. They don't have to anymore because of the money that's coming in. I mean, Watford has brought in a player from Barcelona, a player from Espanyol, a player from Bologna, a player from West Ham. They've brought in talent, because they have money to spend now. A player from Malaga who was on loan at Malaga is back. You've got money to spend that you never had before. You've got pressure to continue making that money to be able to spend it that you've never had in the same way before. So young English players are getting left out. And it's interesting at another level of young English talent, the ones going to Germany. And just the young talent coming from English clubs going to Germany, even if they're not English. Going to Germany because that's going to be a way that they can get an opportunity. German clubs have had a little more of an openness to playing young players and trusting them than clubs in England. MLS would seemingly be a great spot for some of these young players coming through as well, who are not going to force their way into a team like a Watford, but are of a high quality and just need that time and a place to go. Pereira's going to have to battle here in Atlanta. We've talked about the challenges for an Andrew Carlton. He's part of that battle with a Dion Pereira to earn playing time. But you look at other clubs in MLS who don't want to spend a ton of money. It seems to be that this would make a lot of sense for players from clubs like Wolves, like Bournemouth, like Leicester, clubs that are battling to stay in the mid-tier, get into European competition, stay out of relegation scraps. They don't have the ability to play 17, 18, 19-year-old players. They don't have that luxury. They have to go spend money on more proven products that are 24, 25, 26. Those young players need somewhere to go. I'd love to see MLS teams try to capitalize on more moves like we've seen Atlanta with Dion Pereira.
Well, once again, you're seeing Atlanta United and the front office, Darren and Carlos and everyone associated, sitting there and recognizing a talented young player, B, a talented young player in a logjam. And because of Darren's past relationships, and still fairly current, I imagine, but just past exposure on a daily basis, and all the numbers are still on his phone, I'm fairly certain, that if you recognize a logjam from one of your old rotations and you sit there and say, okay, here's a player who I think can help us, and your past relations can help necessitate that kind of a move, I think that that's the advantage that Atlanta United has, having someone like Darren in the front office where he can reach back to England and sit there and say, okay, I know what you're going through right now. Here's a kid I know who's not going to have any kind of an opportunity in the short term. We'd like to have him to develop him as a talent. So I'm thinking that this was really only the first chance that we will see something like this happen. I don't think that this is going to be a one-off for Atlanta United. I think that the Premier League is going to get poached for players who are in log jams, players who are young, players not getting an opportunity for one reason or another, who will be working their way over here to work their trade so they can go back. And once again, it's just thinking outside the curve and thinking places that we haven't seen MLS franchises think before, and Atlanta United's the first one to do it.
It's not even about these players taking the opportunity to come here so they can go back. It's so they can be professional soccer players, because it's not about going back. It's not about, Weston McKennie going to Germany and so he can come back to MLS. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, there's a lot of places to play. And it's the same for English players. I think English players have been maybe a little overvalued in England because of this money coming in. When you see, young players valued at large amounts, and there's no clubs in Europe that would sign them for that amount because they could move to another club in England and make more money. It's a weird situation, but you're going to have more of these where you've got young talent coming through. There's nowhere for them to play. The manager can't afford to give them a chance, and they're not going to be content to sit the bench and wait, and they're going to go chase it somewhere else. I love to see this. I think it's a huge opportunity for MLS, and if you're a Real Salt Lake, Minnesota, a Houston, a club that is not producing a ton of young talent coming through, and Salt Lake's got some, but there's some gaps in what they're producing. Minnesota and Houston right now are not. Portland isn't either. They're not producing young talent from their academy. You can go get young talented players to bring in. Now they're going to take international spots, and you're going to have to navigate that side of it. But that's an opportunity to go get a young talent like a Dion Pereira, give them a place to play, fill a need in your squad, and then potentially, as we've seen Atlanta do, bring in young talent, produce it, develop it, nurture it, sell it on, make a profit, go back out into the market, or reinvest that back into your academy. There's a lot of clubs in MLS who would benefit from it, and I hope to see more of this happen. Get your earliest soccer memories in using the Friday Flashback hashtag. We're going to kick it off with this one before we go to break. Nathan Pugh, because I love the detail here. His earliest soccer memory, aged 5 or 6, early 90s at the rec fields across from Parkview High School, taking a kick right to the gut and having the wind knocked out of me while my father, with a mullet, coached me from the sidelines. That's impressive quality. It's impressive memory too, Nathan. I that.
It's good stuff.
I don't remember getting kicked in the gut as a kid playing at Fort Gillem.
No, I remember gating a kid and shocking my teammates.
Doing what?
Sorry. 75 years ago, we referred to nutmegs as gating someone.
What in the blue hell is that? I've never heard that term in my life.
You've never heard somebody gating somebody else.
No. I've never heard that terminology.
You're all right. Legs are together.
No, I get it.
It's like,
I understand it, but I've never heard that.
No, I gated a kid. I gated a kid. Basically, I nutmegged him. But one of my teammates, who was far better at the sport than I was, after I gated him, he turns to our coach and says, he just gated him, like he was shocked that I did it, and I was all alone on a breakaway, and it ended up being saved by the end of the play. But yeah, just the sheer shock of having a teammate sit there and turn to a coach in the middle of a breakaway. It was a 2-on-2, and yeah, he gated him. Yeah.
Gated? I've never, ever heard that term in my life. That's so funny.
He gated him.
If anybody else has ever heard of that term, please let us know. I'd like to know that I'm not going
But this
crazy.
is 75 years ago, remember, so it might be an outdated reference.
Yeah, well, it's definitely an outdated reference because nobody ever says it now. That part's not up for debate. I've just never heard the reference to begin with. If anybody else has, please let us know. Use the Friday Flashback hashtag. I don't remember nutmegging anybody at that young of an age. My move when I was young like that and could actually run fairly fast, I would do the play it to one side of the player, not nutmeg him, but would play it to the right side of him and run around the left. I always liked that move, that dummy. That was always one of my favorite moves. So I would try to do that when I actually had speed. That ended with a couple of hyperextensions of my knee. And I had to become a savvier player. But anyway, we'll get into Friday Flashback memories after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Earliest soccer memory is your Friday flashback question. John dropped a bombshell. First off, that he nutmegged somebody. That part surprises me. And on one
surprised
level.
me too.
Yeah, it was probably accidental, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
kicking it right at the guy, and he opened the gates, and ball went through, and I kept going.
See, there you go with the word again, gating. I've looked this up during the break, and I am trying to see if maybe I missed something in my soccer dictionary as a kid in the 80s about a nutmeg being called gating, and it doesn't exist. Like, I've never seen this. Nobody mentions it. There's just nothing. I'm looking at it in other countries.
I'm not surprised.
Now, this is a really interesting rabbit hole to go down. That's what's kind of funny about it. So you look at what nutmegs are called in other countries and what it translates to, and there's some really funny ones. Maybe your teammate who said gating could have been Dutch. There could have been a Dutch influence there, because that is the only thing I have seen anything like gating about. Known by the verb porten, literally gating, and the Surinamese word pana, which is something that has made its way around to street soccer. There's actually a street soccer variant called pana, where you're playing 1v1 or 2v2 in a very small space, and you have goals on either end. You try to score more goals than the opposition to win, but you can also win if you nutmeg your opponent. That's a pana. So gating, that literally is the translation there. That is the only place in the world I have seen anything about nutmegging and gating going together. Some of these are just hilarious, though. For some reason in Malawi, it has to do with a rabbit. Don't know.
Go down the rabbit hole?
No. You're trying to bring two things together that don't mean anything at all like the same. In Malawi, a nutmeg is called a kalulu, meaning the hare or the rabbit.
Okay.
Don't know why.
Don't
idea
know why.
Makes no sense. Lots of like tunnel references. In Quebec, it's called a toilet. Don't know why. It's also called a tasse de café, a cup of coffee, implying that someone has been served. I like that one. That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's good stuff. It's funny. Nutmeg in different languages and in different cultures is hilarious. There are so many different ways that people call it something. Japan is the best one, though. By far the best one. So in Japan, a nutmeg is called matanuki. Literal translation, crotch punching. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
The Wikipedia
Riley,
of nutmeg is awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So Riley Miletsky, first soccer memory 2 years ago at a Georgia Revolution match, and a spectacular yelled. Oh, I guess a spectator. And this is what happens when you're trying to talk to text. And a spectacular, but I'm guessing spectator, yelled, "Don't let them gate you." And I did not understand what he meant until now. # Friday flashback.
I think Riley's making things up. Or that person was Dutch, one or the other, because that's the only culture where it's worked from. So you can go have a conversation with Frank de Boer about gating somebody, and he would probably be right there with you. Nobody else would. Just be glad you didn't talk about crotch punching, and then the Japanese soccer fans would have known what you were talking about, but I still would have had no clue. Joe Post, his favorite or his earliest soccer memory, it's actually his son. 3 years ago, U6 in his son's second game, scoring 5 goals. See, I love that. I love that. You know, a lot of us grew up playing or played as a kid, but not everybody who's involved in the soccer community here around Atlanta United or just in the South or just who listens to us wherever you are, not everybody grew up playing. And everybody came to it in different ways. I mean, for some it was watching a game. For some it was seeing it on TV. The 94 World Cup, planted a ton of seeds. The 99 Women's World Cup did the same. the FIFA video game. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you come to the game. That's what's fun and interesting. Katie Weaver, early memories of kicking around with my dad, but first team experience was when we moved to the country, Duluth in 1985, at WGYS. Our team was the Bruisers. I was the only girl. I loved it. The Bruisers. That's a great team name. I played on, let me see if I can remember mine. I played on the Bandits first. Then when we moved up to, my last year in U10, we were the Silver Streaks. We wore silver jerseys. I don't know.
Okay.
Then we were the Mustangs. Mustangs, it was funny. I guess the YMCA did some kind of sponsorship with Georgia Southern. So we had a Georgia Southern logo on our kits next to the YMCA logo. All the YMCA teams did, I think, across all sports. So thanks, Georgia Southern, for sponsoring
the old GS
soccer. It had an eagle head. I remember that much.
Oh, okay.
It was like circular. It looked kind of like a badge, but it had Georgia Southern around the eagle. So pretty cool. Played on the Rhinos in Kentucky when I lived up there, and played on a Thunder team at Henry County outside of school, and the Eagles Landing Golden Eagles. I can't remember the other team names in Kentucky that I played on. But yeah, we had some really goofy names. Bandits was the first one, though. I think Bruisers is better. I like that better.
Yeah, and the only other Bruisers I could think of was the arena football team in Chicago, and it was a Bulldog, and they called themselves the Bruisers.
Yeah, Bruisers. Bulldog makes sense for Bruisers. I could see that. Kefsey, little hazy on the individual games, but earliest soccer memory is playing an entire season of youth soccer with losses. I always tell people I must have loved something about it to keep playing. Yeesh. Yeah, that's no good. I didn't play on a team like that. I don't think I ever had a team that was that bad. I can't think of one. Played on a lot of like very average teams, but not all losses. Yeah, I think Kefsey's right. That definitely, there was something about it to keep playing through that. AA 5 stripes, steam coming off my head, 9 years old, during fall youth soccer at the Tabernacle in Indianapolis. Yeah, those are the fun days, and we had them too, playing like local adult rec, playing co-ed out at Silverbacks Park. When you get to that time of the year, and it can happen like early in the spring or late in the fall or the winter, where you're playing either early in the morning or at night, and you're hot, you're sweating. First you have sweat coming out of your head, but then it turns to steam, and it looks like there's just little clouds popping up off of everybody's heads around the field. It was crazy looking. Cool though.
Stovepipes.
Yeah, it was a little ridiculous. I remember, and it's maybe one of the first things that I associated with playing as a kid, because the games would always be super early. You'd go out to the fields really early in the morning, and the smell of the grass, and I guess not every field has this now because some are artificial, but the smell of the grass early in the morning, maybe it was cut even earlier than we got there, maybe it was cut the night before, but the smell of grass in, I don't know if it's a southern thing or not, just early in the morning, it's very unique. Like it has a smell to it. It has a scent to it.
And for me, the only thing that I remember about the smell of grass was being allergic to it because I had to mow an acre yard.
You were allergic to it and you had to mow a yard,
Yep.
or mowing the yard made you allergic to it? Because
I
there might
was
be something
allergic.
more wrong with that grass if it made you allergic to it.
No, I was. You'd always get runny nose and your eyes would water and that kind of stuff. And no, I was allergic to it, and they sent me out there, and you had to mow the yard.
Eeh, that's not good.
Nope, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of mowing a yard in the first place, and then sitting there and spending all of your hot summer afternoons trying to figure out how to strap the Walkman to your shorts so you could listen to what was going on around you.
So you were not Patrick Dempsey in Can't Buy Me Love, going out, making money, mowing yards.
I tried it one summer with a buddy of mine, and we had a couple of yards, but most of my time was spent mowing my grandparents' yard, which was very large.
No fun. No fun.
And sideways, 45-degree angle front yard at points. And then that was, of course, most of the yard that was the acre lot was the 45-degree down angle.
Eesh. All right, let's take our final break. Last call for your earliest soccer memories. Use the Friday Flashback hashtag. Reply to the post this morning to share it with us. We will draw a winner before the end of the show for a couple tickets to see the Wolves over at Horizon Theater. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Final segment. Soccer down here. Mostly recovered from John calling a nutmeg gating. Mostly. Although the Wikipedia term for nutmeg is it's got so many different countries, like, you know, what it translates to, and they are all so random. In Cape Verde, for example, it's called lavagem, meaning wash.
So you got
wash
okay. So you got washed. Yeah,
you got washed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know, I can roll with that. In Egypt, it translates to bridge. In Austria, it's called a Gurkel, meaning small cucumber.
Okay. Oh no!
I get it. It's not as good as crotch punching from Japan, or egg in Korea or Lebanon too. They both call it egg. Okay. Korea, it's actually hatching an egg.
Okay.
I got nothing. Morocco, it translates to pants. So you pants somebody.
Yeah, you pants somebody.
I can get that. Okay. It's crazy. So the nutmeg is a definite term that means very different things internationally. Intriguing. And they talk about how in the NBA now it's become a thing where you see, you know, people pass between a defender's legs, and they use the hockey term 5-hole. You know, they call it the 5-hole. They need to call it the nutmeg. They really do. That would be awesome. Manu Ginobili did a lot of that, which makes a lot of sense.
Yep. I tried to do a lot of that playing pickup hoops. I was successful a couple of times.
I was about to say, did you get crotch punched when you tried to do that?
No.
Because that's the type of move that definitely would get you punched.
No, I did not. I did not get pantsed.
You did not get pantsed. Okay.
No.
That's good. Because that means something completely different here, too. And if you're getting pantsed on the court in front of a lot of people, that's not good either.
No. Folks tried, And then there was, like you're in elementary school and PE, and then the cool kids try to do that. And they did that during field day when you're out running a quarter mile.
No good.
No bueno.
No bueno. Thad Dooley, earliest soccer memory. I remember being 7 years old, going to my brother's JV and varsity practices. During their scrimmages, the players on the sidelines would pass the ball with me or set up drills for me. Growing up around the Albany, Georgia area, they were the closest thing to soccer heroes for me. I love that, Thad, because I think this is something that it comes up a lot in American player development and the U.S. Soccer Development Academy having players not play in high school, and there's a lot of debate about it. For professional prospects, I'm okay with them not playing in high school. They're trying to go down a different road, and it's a very, very small number that are at that level. And it should be a very, very small number who are not playing high school ball. But in parts of the country where you either don't have a USSFDA club nearby, and I don't think Albany has one. Dalton, for example, didn't. Gainesville has some kind of close, but not that close. You have a lot of kids who high school is the biggest thing that they're going to play if they don't go on to play in college or if they don't find a pro outlet. And one big difference is high school games are going to have spectators. They're going to have fans. They're going to have your friends, your students, your parents, people in the community there. DA games, youth soccer games don't have that. So there's a lot to be said for supporting high school soccer. Not everything about developing the game in this country is about developing the next Christian Pulisic or Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan. It's about developing the next set of fans. It's about developing, players who are going to play for fun for the rest of their life. It's about developing the community around it. And the high school games are very, very important in that, and they need to be treated that way. It's been a blast to call the high school state championship games for NFHS down at Mercer, because doing the last 2 years of it, there was a decided difference in 2018 with how the atmosphere at the game was. You heard chants that you hear at the Benz. You saw students like organized like a supporters group and waving flags, and it was really cool. You could see that crossover in, this is what a real soccer game's like. Cool, we're going to do that for our guys. We're going to do that for our girls, for our team. And you'd see it. And there was definitely more of a vibe. So I'm all about seeing that continue to grow. And in somewhere like Albany, where you don't have a pro team anywhere near, you don't have, college soccer at any high level, you don't have club soccer at any high level right now, the high school game's critical. And it's very important to growing the game overall.
And, I think closest to Albany would be, Tallahassee. And then you're getting into the ACC and that kind of stuff. But really, I'm trying to think of soccer programs in high school, and it might be those in 1-7A, as we're talking about high school stuff, where you're looking at a Colquitt, you're looking at maybe a Tift, but the smaller schools that aren't in the GHSA, maybe a Deerfield Windsor or a Valwood or something like that. So it's there, and it's in pockets, and that southwest corner of the state, you're looking for teams to attach to. So,
but if you're looking at growing the game, and you look at that southwest corner of the state, I would be looking at that as one of the greatest opportunities to grow the game.
No doubt,
absolutely. In the state. Because you have clubs, you have things all over the metro area, all around the metro area. In Macon has a thriving community. Dalton has grown a lot with the Latin community up there. Savannah, Brunswick, Morgan Bryan came from there. You have things in place. You don't really have a lot in that southwest corner of the state. And if you were to be able to go down and fund developing coaches and developing players and teach the game the right way, now's the time where that could really, really take off, and you could see players, future fans, future administrators, future coaches, referees all come out of that area in a big way. and grow the game. It's an interesting time where now I think you could really get a big return for that kind of investment. And that's just in the state of Georgia. I mean, you think about Alabama, Mississippi, parts of Tennessee, parts of South Carolina, parts of Florida that are just not really, you just don't have that soccer community going right now. Now is a time where you could really bring it, plant the seeds, grow it, and it's going to grow fast. And you're going to see a huge impact.
And, I mean, I think that when you look at the sport itself, I think that folks have to get past the idea of, okay, well, something isn't somewhere, therefore we just step over that idea and just move on. But I think that to the point that we're making in this segment, view that as an opportunity. Don't view it as a way to pass something by and, overlook what could be a tremendous opportunity. Look at that as something to be gained instead of something to be ignored going forward.
More memories. Patrick Sullivan, earliest memory was participating in a McDonald's-sponsored 2v2 tournament at Clayton State in the mid-'70s. I remember us lasting all of 2 minutes or so before getting bounced. Got a free soccer ball, though. I remember it was either the first or second year that I played Ford in Atlanta. It was probably the Metro Atlanta area Ford dealers, like all combined. They sponsored what's now the Atlanta Cup. I don't remember what it was called at that point, but it's turned into the Atlanta Cup, which is a huge tournament in the Southeast every year. And they sponsored a skills competition that went alongside of it. And if you won the skills competition in your area for your age group, you got to go compete in the citywide one, and Pelé was going to be there. And I remember going to practice for this thing, and I wanted to get through it, and I finished one spot out of going to the finals. I was so mad. I wanted to meet Pelé when I was 10, 11 years old. I didn't even really know. I knew Pelé was a big deal. I'd never really seen Pelé play much, but his name still had that, it was a big deal. It was mythical almost at that time. Jill Robbins, when I first learned of the concept of nutmeg, it was referred to as nutting someone, 80s in the South Texas. I assume the current term evolved because it wasn't as crass. There's that.
It wasn't crotch punching.
It wasn't crotch punching, that's for sure. Man, you should read some of the translations of a nutmeg around the world. Whew, some of them will blow your mind. The Colonel, 1965 in Northern Virginia, progressive thinking high school PE teacher taught us the game. We played pickup, and I was the one that got megged first I heard of the game. I was really lucky that we had an elementary school PE teacher who had us playing soccer in elementary school because I had never had any way to know about it. I was too little for the second version of the Chiefs. I don't remember it. And I did not want to play baseball in the spring of 1986 because I played in 85 and had a coach who was throwing chairs in the dugout for 7- and 8-year-olds, and I wanted no part of being around that again. And if I played baseball that spring, I was going to be on his team, and I played soccer in gym class. I was like, I kind of like this. I'm going to go play because the YMCA where I played basketball had soccer, and they had like one team in each age group. It was just a handful of teams, and the Clayton County YMCA teams played in the Clayton County League that played at Fort Gillem at the time, and played for the YMCA team that spring, and I liked it. It was a lot of fun. I played goalkeeper mostly. Played just a little bit on the field, scored like one goal in my first year. But that summer was the World Cup that I had a chance to see games in, and that was where Diego Maradona completely changed my life in wanting to be a soccer player, and also changed my trajectory from goalkeeper to wanting to play on the field and score as many goals as possible, which might not have been a good thing because I think I might have had a better chance at doing something professionally playing as a goalkeeper, but wanted to be Diego. Wanted to be the right-footed Diego Maradona wearing Puma cleats and number 10 in Riverdale, Georgia, but there wasn't really much of a market for that.
For me, it was those 2 years of soccer camp, going to watch the Generals, watching the Chiefs at Fulton County Stadium, play the Washington Diplomats, go see a California surf game, strangely enough, against the Washington Diplomats at Anaheim Stadium, and Saturday morning bowling league, and played Little League ball until had a coach basically tell me after a pitcher threw a pickoff attempt at first and I was nowhere near the bag that it would be a cold day in hell before I ever played for him again. And that was kind of it.
Nice.
Classy guy.
Yeah, seriously. There's coaches like that in all sports, and they do have an impact on it. Luckily, I think maybe, and it's not universal because there are bad coaches in any sport you look at, but I think in soccer there's a little bit more of an ownership of wanting to grow the game, because I think a lot of people who do coach youth soccer are passionate about it, and it's coming from that place, so they do think about, okay, what kind of impact am I having on the kids I coach? Doesn't mean there aren't some who turn people off from the game. It does happen. Happened more in the past. I think now the coaching education is a lot better than it's ever been. I think there's still room to improve. And, it's good to see coaches who do, take that responsibility very seriously. It's very important. Jill, talking about her old school days, said, bear in mind that I'm also the same one who thought my high school had a soccer team because we had foreign exchange students and they needed a sport to play. Because, that was how it was looked at that time. And Chiefs coach Steve said that he started playing shortly after dinosaurs no longer roamed the earth, played with genuine granite soccer balls. Yeah. I remember the days of, not the granite soccer ball. I think I was after that, but I remember the days of the very hard plastic soccer ball, or the ball that had the very hard plastic outer covering.
Yes.
And it was just awful. It would be a brick in the wintertime, and it hurts your foot, and you definitely think 3 or 4 times about going up for a header with those things. And now that's good that they're not around anymore because of concussion awareness and heading awareness and all of those things. It's a whole nother discussion for another time. We could open up a giant can of worms worse than the gating comment if we wanted to get into concussions and heading at young ages. And we're not going to do that because we're already in stoppage time, and it's about time to wrap up. But we're going to end with this one. John, I'm going to ask you, and I will answer as well, because, as we said, Olsworthy, number 2 on the name ranking. Olsworthy asked a question, we answer it. The number 1 chimed in, Wakatata Flame.
Yes.
Thanks for the top name shout-out. Been an amazing week since Big Boy tweeted out an article I wrote about him. Who would be your dream celebrity shout-out?
Wow. Probably Geddy Lee from Rush.
So if you wrote an article and Geddy Lee retweeted it or said thanks or whatever, that would be your dream celebrity shout-out.
It's just, I've been around, maybe Ric Flair, something like that. For me, it would be something in that vein. On short notice, that would probably be my 1 and my 2.
Mine would, on Twitter, mine would probably be something like REM. The individual guys.
Mike Mills.
Well, Mike Mills is very active on Twitter. Big sports fan too. I don't know if he's been to an Atlanta United game though. He's a huge baseball fan, big Braves fan.
Oh yeah. Did a story at a celebrity golf tournament, and Mills was there, and I asked him. I said, "So, if your golf game was an REM song, which would it be?" And he said, "It's the end of the world as we know it."
Well, that's just too easy. That's just too easy to take. I don't know if he's been to an Atlanta United game. That would actually be really cool to see if that could happen at some point. But, something from REM or one of the individual members. It wouldn't be sports-related because, it's not like I know everybody in soccer. And if Diego Maradona did something, if he tweeted something that I wrote or said, that'd be super cool because it's not like I've ever met Diego Maradona. But I'm kind of like you. I look at the music world as like a whole different universe, and I'm not part of it. So, it's like I'm a fan again. So if a big time musician liked something or shared something or whatever, that would immediately be like, wow, that would be my dream celebrity shout out. So very cool, Waka Tata Flame. I'm glad Big Boy tweeted out the article you wrote. And I know you're starting to do some stuff too. So keep an eye on Waka Tata Flame and what Waka Tata is putting out. Do we call you Waka? Do we call you Waka Tata? Do we call you Flame? Let us know.
Flame.
Shorten it. I'm gonna let him answer that. Or her answer that.
Well, I mean, as long as it's not the acronym, I think we're okay.
Yeah, we'll see. See what happens. We do have a winner for the tickets to see the Wolves over at Horizon Theater.
Is that an air horn or a breaking news?
We're gonna go air horn. Katie Weaver, you've won tickets. Send us a message over at Soccer Down Here. We'll send you the vouchers. They are not tied to a certain date, so you can go whenever it is convenient for you. 2 tickets to see the Wolves over at the theater. And if you did not win tickets and you would like to go see it, go to horizontheater.com and get your tickets. It's running through early March. We'll have more about the play next week, 1v1 with the director, talk about the awards that the play's been up for, how everything came together. It's going to be a lot of fun to have that conversation. We've got 1v1s coming up today from Darren Van Tassel, tomorrow from John Migliarese, the manager at South Georgia Tormenta. Darren is the owner of South Georgia Tormenta. A whole bunch more 1v1s coming soon. John has been very, very busy on that front. Lots of USL Championship, USL League One, some NPSL as well, some community-based stuff. Lots of 1v1 podcasts coming for you soon. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Kind of a crazy week. Next week, we'll be getting deep into CONCACAF Champions League, preparation for it from Atlanta United, from other teams in MLS, just kind of what to expect in the round of 16. Start digging deep as we get closer and closer to official matches taking place. Thanks for everybody who interacted with us today as well. I learned gating, which I still don't know if it's really a thing. I think John might have been making it up to get me going this morning, or he's a big fan of the Dutch game. I'm not sure. But thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.